Who here has ever done something stupid trying to look cool?
Every day.
Trying to look every day. Every day.
No one likes me.
Nobody pays attention. You just look cool for yourself. So there was a time I was 17, and like the guys I hung out with were very like we would go snowmobiling and four-wheeling, and we would drive trucks around, and we'd go real fast, and dirt bikes, and I didn't grow up doing any of that stuff. I had a pedaling bike, and that was kind of all I grew up doing. Was pedaling the bike around, and weed whacking. I didn't even get to drive like a riding lawnmower. So when I was like 17, I hung out with a couple of guys, Jordan and Zach. You've been around, you heard about my best friend Jordan before. And he had an old-timey snowmobile, and we went out and we were jumping it. And I was a little intimidated because I was like never rode a snowmobile before, and much less launch it into the air while I was on it. But when you're a 17 male, you want to look cool in front of your friends. So I was like, oh, I'll totally jump it. And so I hit my helmet on, and I gassed it, and I jumped it. But the thing is, I too much gassed it. So I launched it, and I was just winging it the whole time. And then when I landed, I didn't let go or hit the brake. I gassed it right into a tree. And so I'm fine. Thanks for asking. And so, but I had very many of those stories. There's one time we put race fuel inside of a moped to see how fast it would go, and it went fast. So they sold racing fuel because, like, I used to rent dune buggies when I was a senior in high school and college, and so they had racing fuel for some of the racing dune buggies and stuff. And so we're like, well, let's go buy some. Because a moped's like a gallon, so it cost us like $15, and we were good to go. And yeah, it went fast. And you just do things. You do things to try to look cool. That's what we all do. We all have this thing. It's called managing your image, right? We all manage our image, and that's doing whatever you can to make sure the best parts of yourself are visible and your less likely parts are carefully hidden. So we all do that. That is why many of us put on deodorant before we came tonight. Because you're like, I just don't want people to think I'm stinky. And so, that's why I'm wearing jeans and not yoga pants. One of the many reasons. And so, we do those things, but when you're going out, when you get ready, you pretty yourself up. Because you are managing your image. What you post on social media is you managing your image. You don't put F's, you don't put your failures, you don't put your mistakes, unless you're trying to get attention, and that's also part of your managing. You're like, somebody love me. It's like, if my mom yelled at me and she won't let me do something, like eat a bag of Doritos by myself. She's so mean. And then all your friends snap back, your mom is so mean. Like, yes, vindication. You're not friends. And so, we all do this. We all manage our image. And it's exhausting, honestly, trying to put that face forward, trying to be somebody who's likable, trying to be somebody who's wanted, trying to be somebody who's cool and fits in and looks a certain way and acts a certain way, whatever we believe that to be. And part of the problem is, especially when we go to school, is that image changes depending on the crowd we're in. When I'm with my drama friends, I need to know and have access to certain information, music, movies, pop culture. When I'm with my sports friends, I need to know about football, sports. I need to know about what's going on. When I'm hanging out or when I'm talking with teachers, I want to seem smart and intelligent and like I have it all going together. And we change who we are, depending on who we talk to. We come to church and we clean up our mouth, we pray, we engage, and then we go to school, and we act a different way. And then when we're finally home, sometimes we have a hard time even knowing who we really are. And we've all seen this. There's been friends that you hang out with, and you're like, country music's the worst. And then you get inside this group of friends, and they're like, Dirk's Bentley, man. And you're like, which is what a weird thing to do for Dirk's Bentley. And you start listening, and you start, oh yeah, I like it too. I like it too, because I'm hanging out with them. See, we become controlled by what we believe other people want us to look like, what our image needs to be, what we put out there, what we put forward. We become controlled by it. And for many of us, this is probably done on a subconscious level. You're not actively thinking about it. It's not like you're posting on Snapchat thinking, what are my friends going to think? But you are posting things that you want engagement on, that you want to get noticed by. You are talking and acting in such a way so that you get attention from specific people. We know those things, and we do that subconsciously because our heart desires to feel liked, to be cool. We all want to be cool. We all want to feel a part of something. Even those kids are like, I don't care. I'm a loner. Me and Bruce Wayne by ourselves. We all still want to be a part of something. See, very few things will threaten your freedom, like image management. Very few things will threaten your freedom like image management. Because what ends up happening is you start bouncing around. With this group, I'm this way. With this group, I'm another. When I'm at school, I'm kind of cool. Then I go to church, and I'm like, that's great. And we don't do that here. I'm that, yeah, super Christian. We start doing that, and we kind of, if you can imagine, we have this kind of applause meter, this internal applause meter, and it kind of goes from boring to amazing. And we want the way we interact with people to be excited, to have that applause meter go over, to be like, you're so cool, I wish I was like you, you're awesome. And so we live in a way where we look for that applause, where we look for people to like us, to say, yay, they're here. Not every time we walk into a room. The hard thing with this is that applause meter never stays in the red. Like, we hit it sometimes, right? Like, you made first chair in band, yes! You got an A plus on your test, yes! Boy, SUI, lose! It's like, no. You get 100 likes on your post, you get 1,000 likes. People actually snap you back. What? I kept a streak. But here's the problem, which is great, it's awesome, it's exciting, I can't believe it, it's engaging. And then you go to bed, and then you wake up, and you're starting back over here. Because the A was exciting for today, but there's another test. And you have first chair now, but will you have it next week? You made the play, but when this play's over, there's another one. You made the team, but now you're sitting on the bench. See, we get locked into trying to get our life over here. You want to just mute me? Sure. The microphone's getting busted. We we get lost trying to have our life over here, then we become captured, locked up by what we believe people's expectations are for us. So what do we do if the fight for approval keeps us from feeling anything but free? If the fight for approval, for being liked, keeps us from being free, what are we to do? And I want to talk about this guy named Paul. And we talked about it last week. Corey in our video talked about it. And he was talking to, he wrote a letter to this church in Galatia. He wrote the letter of Galatians to the church in Galatia that he had started up. Paul was a missionary, he traveled around, and he started all these churches. And in one of the towns, Galatia, he starts this church. And in one of Paul's journeys, there was a group who was coming in right after. And these were people, Paul would come in and say, hey, if you want to be saved, follow Jesus. If you want to live eternal life, follow Jesus. That's all you have to do. And then these people would come in after him and be like, oh, hey, we're post-Paul cleanup. And we're here to say, like, Paul was right, yeah, follow Jesus. But there's a little bit more. You need to do a little more. There's a little, he was almost all the way correct. And so we're just kind of following him around and telling people, yes, but there's more. And so they're following it, and they come up and say, hey, yeah, you're right, follow Jesus, but you also have to follow all these Jewish rules. So you have to, you can't eat pork, and don't work on Sunday, and you have to pay this, and go to synagogue, and there's some other, and how you dress, and there's a lot of these things, and we actually have this, here's this rule. We have to follow Jesus. Yes, that's number one. Here's 2 through 999. And this is what you need to do if you want to make God happy and go to heaven. So Paul's going around, he's starting all these churches, and then all of a sudden he starts hearing back. These churches are like, hey, Paul, so great. That group came up after you, told us all this stuff we weren't doing. And it seems like kind of a lot. So we're out. Thanks, but hard pass. And you can imagine Paul gets mad. Paul gets mad. He's like, what are you talking about? What the crap? This is Paul is in prison. He's getting beat up. He's getting kicked out of cities for telling people about Jesus. These guys come up and they're ruining everything. So he writes this to the church in Galatia. He says this, I am astonished that you are so quickly deserting the one who calls you to live in the grace of Christ, and that you are turning to a different gospel, which really is no gospel at all. So he's saying, I can't believe it. God, I had dinner with you. I worked with you. I helped you fix your fence. We spent serious time learning God's word together. And I'm out of town. Not that long. Joe Schmo comes in. You start listening to him instead of me. What are you thinking? Now, Paul's upset. He's been sharing the gospel, and these people are now turning away from it. And instead of listening to him, they're following these false disciples. He continues. Evidently, some people are throwing you into confusion and are trying to pervert the gospel of Christ. Next. Obviously, I'm not trying to win the approval of people, but of God. If pleasing people were my goal, I would not be Christ's servant. I would not be Christ's servant. And this is the statement I want us to stick on tonight. If making people happy was the goal, I would not be Christ's servant. Paul is saying here, like, guys, this isn't about making us feel good. This isn't about conforming to what the culture says. This isn't about following a list of rules. This is about a relationship. This is about believing in somebody and following after them. This isn't about trying to make you happy or people back in Jerusalem happy. And there's this whole thing about the Jerusalem Council and Acts 16 and people getting upset and that. Bible, like, it's super exciting because you got to remember, Jesus comes in, he says, make disciples of all nations. Then he goes back up to heaven. And there's just like the 12 disciples going, what? And what happens next is nuts because like Jesus wasn't like, hey, by the way, you got to get together. There's going to be a youth group on Wednesdays. And you got church. You have 3 songs and then a 30-minute message. So, it wasn't any of that. He was just like, hey, tell people to follow me. I'm out. And he sent his Holy Spirit in the fire, and you really need to read the Bible. So Paul is saying, like, listen, we're doing this not to make you happy, not to make you feel good because you chipped up, because you clicked off all those rules. And there is something about knowing if I follow all these rules, if I don't chew, if I don't smoke, I don't chew, I don't go with girls that do, I make God happy, and that makes me feel good, right? Like, hey, I went to church this week, I tithe, I served, I read my Bible a couple times. I read the verse of the day. And I didn't watch or say anything mean to my mom. So, boom, God must be happy with me. I'm probably like employee of the week. And so, there is something about that, about following that list. There's something about making people around us happy. Because if we're honest, the things that Jesus says and calls sin, make us a little bit uncomfortable. That hell is a real place, and people are going there. Now, what Jesus isn't saying is to show up at school on August 27th, on her birthday, and be like, hell's a real place, everybody! A lot of you going there. So, listen, I'm not here to make you happy. It's about making God happy. Y'all sinners need to stop. You too, Tiffany. Tiffany's my ex-girlfriend. It's a great story. But going after the approval of God does not mean losing the respect of people. Going after the approval of God does not mean losing the respect of others. It doesn't give you a free rein to go in and call people out. Oh, you didn't go to church this week? Oh, you must hate Jesus. Oh, what did you do last Wednesday? You stayed home and watched Netflix. I think Jesus didn't stay home and watch Netflix. He died for you on the cross. And getting people upset and getting people mad. It doesn't mean being a jerk. It doesn't give you a free rein to go in and say, hey, you can't do this, and calling people out. It also doesn't mean that you never say anything, that you never invite people to church, that your faith becomes this quiet little thing that is just to yourselves. Because Jesus never wanted your faith to be something that you kept to yourself. Hopefully, your faith is exciting and something you want to share because of what God is doing. Because we share the things that we like, things that we think are cool, that we appreciate. You've all said, You need to watch this on Netflix. You need to download this app. You need to watch this show. Storage wars. Shipping wars. Shipping wars. You need to do this. Because we get excited about that. Hopefully that's what you're doing with your faith. And you're inviting people into it because you are looking for the approval of God. You're looking to make God happy, not the people in your class happy. And here's the thing, not your small group leader happy. Again, you're not looking for their approval. So we don't want you to show up on Wednesdays and to put out a face and be like, yes, my life is great. If you could pray for my sinful neighbors. Just, I've been fasting, some ashes I've been pouring over myself in hopes that they will experience salvation and receive sanctification through the cross. Let's hope. Don't do that, especially in the guys group. That's weird. Holding hands, because nobody ever prays. You're just there holding hands. Who wants to pray? Anybody want to pray? That happened to me too. So, there's a difference between caring about something and being controlled by it. There's a difference between caring about something. You should care about your friends. You should care about your parents. You should care about your small group leader. You should care about the people on your sports teams. You shouldn't be controlled by it. What's going on online? A lot of you care a lot. How many followers you have, how many people are engaged on that. But maybe mac and cheese. What you say? Jason liked it. But that's not how we're controlled. We shouldn't be doing these things to get their attention. It's okay to love things and to care about things, and you should. But if you start going over to, I'm changing my personality because of them, here's a couple of ways we can tell if we're being controlled by them. If you're willing to do things when people are around that you wouldn't do if you were alone, you might be controlled and looking for the approval of others. If what other people say to you or think about you, whether it's a coach, teacher, group of friends, changes how you feel about yourself, you may be controlled by the people around you. If you feel like you're living different lives depending on the group you're hanging out with, being one way with one group of friends, another way with a different group of friends, and another way with your family, and another way at church, you may be controlled by the approval of others. If there's a church version of you, and a school version of you, and a home version of you that's a little weird, because you've been holding in all the weird, you may be controlled by the approval of others. See, free people live for Him, not for them. Free people live for God. Free people follow Jesus and do what He says because He gives us freedom. He gives us acceptance. He gives us hope. He gives us purpose. Every day that you wake up, that applause meter in heaven is pegged out. You're just like, Mia's here! She's going to school! Awesome! She goes to school every day. Yeah, but she's Mia! Shut up, Satan! Every day it's pegged out. Every day. And that's what should be guarding our approval, that I am loved by God. That I have a purpose. That I'm worthwhile. I am known. Completely and truly known by someone. loves me so much, he's going to come, live on this earth, die a brutal death on the cross, be buried for 3 days and rising into it. We spend eternity together. 3 people live for him, not for them. You weren't made to be controlled by anything. There is nothing in this world that is designed to control you. If you want to be a true free person, you need to give your life over to Jesus and make decisions based on him. So Paul follows up in Galatians. He says this. He says, pay careful close attention to your own work, for then you will get the satisfaction of a job well done, and you won't need to compare yourself to anyone else, for we are each responsible for our own conduct. You are responsible for you. You are responsible for you. Your actions, your attitude, your behaviors, and what controls you is your choice. Yeah, but my mom. No. You don't know my brother. I know I have a brother. Not an excuse. But then there was this, and then this, and then I get it. I get it. You're still in charge of you. And comparison is a losing game. There's no win in comparison. You'll never win. Paul says, so stop. Just look out for you. You don't need others to give you what you already have. If you're a follower of Jesus, you don't need, you don't need grades, you don't need the starring role, you don't need a high score, you don't need more money, you don't need a better job, an education, looks, blonde hair. Because you are loved by the Creator of the universe. We're going to head into small groups and talk about it. Don't forget next week.